Hi, I'm happy speaking this morning as the Dean of the Balwant School of Architecture at NMIMS University. The Balwant School of Architecture, which we fondly called BSSA, was conceptualized and put together in 2007, which was another decade where change was being perceived in the profession, in the built environment. With changing economics, new materials, changing real estate, changing urbanization, the pressures for architecture to change, to reimagine, to re-Christian itself, to reproduce itself was very strong. And I think at some point, BSSA took that challenge, that what would be the architect for this future? And I think the constant pursuit here, especially with many of our allied programs, especially when we conduct site visits and study tours, especially when we are exposing students to literature, films, the intention is to produce a thinking individual. That sense of humanity, that sense of a civilizational responsibility, that sense of a social responsibility, combined with professional expertise, but also empathy, is extremely important for our future professionals. In many ways at BSSA, one is trying to develop that even through our infrastructure. So whether it is the diversification of the library with the range of different subject books being brought into the library, to developing various different kinds of workshops, also exchange programs such as competitions, exchange programs such as traveling, exchange programs such as meeting other students from other schools. At all these different levels, one is trying to bring to the student a space where he or she can think and work and be exposed to various different ways of thinking and working. People who will enter studios, people who will enter seminars, people who will enter lecture halls as teachers, they will have to develop strategies, they will have to develop systems, they will have to develop working models where there is a simultaneous teaching and learning process, where it is more of an exchange process between the students in the class and the teachers in that same space. How do you make an observation? How do you learn from observations, and then how do you question those observations or question those learning? Once you develop a system of questioning, then how do you respond yourself to the questions? So whether it is a design studio or whether it is a history theory seminar or whether it is a class as technical as producing working drawings which will help you make a building on site. In all these models, in all these different models of learning, this process of generating within the student a system of learning becomes extremely important. And I think many of the programs, whether it is certain allied activities that we are planning, such as doing simply straightforward one-day seminars on specialized areas which are new and emerging or which are in a level of crisis. So for example, you can say everybody knows the crisis right now is conversations on climate change. But at the same time, the whole sphere of gaming and architecture, for example, or the imagination of how philosophical concepts can be taken into material concepts, where in a manner of 2 or 3 days, if 15 professionals, 15 thinkers can present works and ideas in the space of the school, and students get that deep engagement with the subject, it generates for the next 6 months, for the next 2 semesters, it generates a thought process, discussions in the staff room, discussions in the studio. Also, bringing a lot of younger architects in their mid-careers position come as guest lecturers constantly and indicate to the students as to what are the pulls and pressures for a young, medium scale or small scale architecture practice today, and how are they responding to the demands and challenges of not only the changing real estate, but the changing client profile, the changing demands of the client, and the changing needs of buildings. It's very important that conversations are constantly ongoing in the institution, in the corridors, and these conversations are very much updated with the conversations in the world outside. So at various levels, whether it is competitions, whether it is participating in festivals like the Kalagoda Arts Festival, the students are constantly encouraged to engage with the world outside, bring those conversations in the institution, experiment them in the learning space, and again throw it back in the world outside. This constant sort of a circle of exchange is very important that we build within our pedagogic structures and think simultaneously with philosophers, historians, filmmakers, artists, etc. We will be able to produce professionals and individuals that can go out and contribute to the world, not simply in making buildings, but building a better world.